Hello, welcome to tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. As you can see, Brandon is back again.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. So, we're going to...
It's starting to get warm again, so I can wear shorts.
Shorts. You know how it's really hot out? If I'm wearing shorts outside the house. I wear...
Dad here never wears shorts.
I don't wear shorts.
He wears shorts when it's really hot out or he's swimming.
Yeah. Literally, I couldn't tell you the last time I wore shorts outside the house except for to go swimming. Mm-hmm. I'll sleep in a pair of shorts, but I won't wear a pair of shorts outside the house. Unless it's to go get the dog out of the damn backyard in the dead of winter. And it freaked the neighbor girl out. Because Junior did not want to come in, and he was sitting out in the snow, playing in the yard. So I'm like, Junior, get back in here, Junior. And he's just looking at me, and I'm like, oh, you stupid dog. Come on, buddy. I love you. Come on, come in the house. And he just sitting there because he's not really staring at me because he can't see nothing. So I'm like, all right. So
you got to pick him up.
So I run out in the yard literally in just a pair of shorts. There is probably this much snow on the ground. I am barefoot, no shirt, just a pair of shorts, dead of winter. I run out in the yard. I grab Junior up. I run up on the patio, and I look over, and the neighbor's girlfriend's standing on her back porch drinking a cup of coffee. And I'm like, hey, what's up? And I run inside the house. And then I immediately took a shower because I was cold.
That's what you got to do. You got to get warm fast.
But, as always, tonight's episode is brought to you by RU Game, the best comic book video game magic store in all of Pickle, Ohio. Now, with 100% more Strixhaven. Because Strixhaven drops this week. So
if you're a Magic nerd,
if you're watching this episode, when this episode comes out, Strixhaven drops this Friday for pre-release, which doesn't exist anymore. But we will have Strixhaven, and hopefully tomorrow when I get in there, I will have Jumpstart cards. So we're getting a bunch of Magic in this week, and I got a bunch of Magic singles in this week.
If you like Magic, give us money.
Yes,
so we can live and sell you more Magic.
And I got a new role-playing game coming in this week. I have the Conan role-playing game.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
That's yet another role-playing game that I own that I don't have time to play.
It's cool, you know, the world of Samaria.
But yeah, I'm.
Apparently, there was also a Hellboy role-playing game I heard about.
I gotta find that one. But tonight's episode is obscure favorites.
It was my idea, because we talk about, you know, obscure favorites a lot on here, but we've never had, you know, that be like the subject of an episode.
I will put this out here. We will not be talking horror movies, so if you're listening to this one, because we have a special 80s horror movie episode coming up soon where it's going to be a roundtable discussion. We are bringing in some guests that will come in and help us out. And we're talking to them right now, and that will not be filmed here. That will be filmed at the shop because, you know, we'll have more room and stuff, and we'll have people, so we'll be able to get everybody in. We can be distant from each other enough, and we'll discuss this. But that being said, we're going to talk movies, video games, books, TV shows, comic/manga, okay? And music even. But I want to throw that out there. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Listen to the show on pretty much wherever you listen to podcasts. We're currently available on almost all formats. I think it's easier to say that we're not on like Deezer, and I think we're even on Spotify now. So we're everywhere, and
Group Therapy everywhere.
And then watch us on YouTube. Okay, and on top of that, I am currently still giving away. We're coming closer with YouTube. We hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. I think we're at 70 some now. We hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. I will be giving away free shit. That is right, free shit. I will be giving away to one lucky winner. What we do is we'll scroll through at random. We'll pick one lucky subscriber, and we will send them a copy of DC's Metal trade paperback, hardback, special edition, full cover, and the whole 9 yards, still sealed. That is for that. For Podbean, which we're still way off on Podbean, but you know what? We're going to go for that. We hit 100 subscribers on Podbean. I will give away a copy of Roads to Metal, trade paperback, brand new, sealed, special edition, and although I'm okay, we're going to do it this way. Instagram, we're getting closer to 100. So if we hit 100 Instagram followers first, then I'll give that book away on Instagram. Then I'll just find another book and we'll put that up for that. We're also giving away a brand new sealed copy of Uncanny Avengers for when we hit, I would say 500. Let's say 400 followers on Twitter.
Alright.
So
hear that, people?
Yeah. So when we hit, we'll pull one of you lucky subscribers. I will pack that shit up and I will send it out to you free of charge. And one of you lucky people will get a free trade paperback. And I'm looking for some other stuff coming down the line. I'm thinking about putting a contest in here in episodes so that I put like something hidden in an episode. And if you find it, the first person that comments that sees that wins that. So we're working on that. But okay. So tonight's episode is Obscure Favorites. That's saying a lot because, man, I'll tell you what, I love a lot of shit that most people have never heard of. But like I said, we're going to do the horror movies. So I'm going to start off with a couple of my favorite regular movies. I love myself some.
You love your old horror movies.
I love my old horror movies, but I'm a big sci-fi fan from back in the day. I was that kid that any sci-fi movies I could get my grubby little mitts on. I would jump on it. One of my favorite movies is The Eliminators. It was a weird superhero adventure movie, and it was sci-fi, had time travel and shit in it. It had a cyborg man who had tank tracks for his lower part of his body. It had a very young Denise Crosby, Tasha Yar from Star Trek, who was I'm surprised. Never thought she was attractive on the show. Super hot in the show. It has a martial arts guy. It has a time-traveling bad guy. It's just over the top. I love that movie so much. Thanks to James Garrett, I own a theatrical poster for that movie. It's Eliminators. It's Empire Pictures.
Gonna look some IMDb stuff on it.
Well, no, I got stupid computers not wanting to get out of. There it goes. Come on. All the stupid antivirus shit that I don't need on here that pops up. Oh, your subscription's expired. Blah blah blah.
Careful, Dad. Them deep web hackers will hear you.
Deep web hack my computer.
You're gonna hack your computer.
They're
good.
Oh. So
the only thing they're gonna steal is them cosplay pics that you download.
No, about the only thing they'll get on this computer is like some old like screensavers. I think I have a Mad Max screen. Okay. Now, Eliminators is the cyborg keeps getting sent back in time to bring back like stuff for this guy. He ends up deciding to betray him, and then
looking him up.
But it's from Empire Pictures, which I think it's like Charles Band. Yeah, 1986.
About you were like 12 when that came out.
Yes. 12-year-old Paul loved this stuff, man. I could not get enough. Yeah, a former pilot rebels against his creator, teaming up with a scientist responsible for his android technology. Her pet robot Spot, a rough and tumble riverboat guide, and a martial arts warrior. Eliminators. That shit is great.
Directed by Peter. Written by a guy named Paul.
Paul DeMeo?
DeMeo.
Yeah. Mandroid. Yeah, it was a Mandroid. Harry Fontana was the main guy. But yeah, this is... It's stupid... Great. Hey, that's funny because that's going to be one of my next ones.
Of course.
Actually, that one and that one is one of my favorites.
This is a great segue point.
Shit. Okay. So it's bad when you pull up stuff on it and it goes more like this, and you're like, well, shit, yeah, that one's great too. All right, it's Brandon's turn. We're gonna let Brandon go on that one.
I'm very happy to announce that my next game has always had a little bit of a cult following. And it finally got a re-release lately. Stubbs the Zombie. My dad picked up a copy like years ago from like a flea market, and it's one of the greatest gifts I've ever had.
Yeah,
that's not a cheap game.
No, I picked that up at another video game store because I was looking for an AV cord for a Dreamcast. No, not a Dreamcast, Saturn. I was looking for an AV cord for a Saturn.
And you just happened to stumble upon that game.
And yeah, and me and your mom were like, hey, is that the one Brandon wants? Sure enough, that was the one that you wanted. So that's what we got you.
It's a game made by guys fresh off of Halo, actually some ex-Halo devs. They went on to form a Wide Load. Stubbs the Zombie is a game that they wanted to make, and you can tell that there was not a lot of publisher interference. It was just... it's a fun, stupid game.
Dude, I think Stubbs the Zombie is one of them games where people are just like, hey, let's have fun.
Exactly.
And they were like, okay, what do we want the zombie to do? Oh, we want him to be able to take his head off and roll it like a bowling ball.
And they just did that.
Put that in. Yeah, put that in. Yeah, I played Stubbs. I liked Stubbs the Zombie.
I bring it up now because after game released in mid-2000s, towards the end of the original Xbox's life cycle, I think maybe like 2006, maybe. I could be wrong.
Stubbs
came out. There was never a sequel. I don't think Wide Load put out any games after that. I don't think it sold well. I can't remember if it did, but it came out, and the series has been dead for years.
Stubbs the Zombie in Rebel Without a Pulse.
That's the game's full title.
Well, that's like your brother was sitting there freaking out because I got a game in that, it's got a... I love it. It's got a 51%, but 97%.
Well, it's because critics have sticks up their asses.
2005. It runs on the Halo engine.
Yep, that's what I was bringing. That's what I bring.
Oh shit! They just brought that out for everything. Then.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It recently got re-released. I got it on PC. It runs great. You can get it on Switch right now and enjoy.
Yeah, you got it on Switch. It's on PlayStation 4. It's on...
Yeah, you can get it anywhere now. Go pick it up. Go buy it.
Yeah, Stubbs Zombie's a fun game.
It's got couch co-op. It's got... Not every joke lands, but it's at least a consistently funny game.
But, yeah, it says Stubbs the Zombie is Without a Pulse is a third-person action video game developed by Wide Load Games and published by Asper Media. Aspire. Yeah.
October 18th, 2005.
Yep, on the game console. Was re-released on Microsoft Windows and Mac OS in November of the same year. So, I guess you can still get it on old school PC. You can get it on new.
Mm-hmm. It runs great and still has split screen support.
Oh my god. Well, what's funny is we talk about, like in bizarre video games. Joe was at the shop and he was like, "I gotta take this game. I gotta find it," because he was freaking out because was it Bungie West?
Yeah,
made
it's Oni.
Oni, and he's like, "I think this is the only game they ever made." I was like, "All right, take it home, try it out."
Yep.
See, this is the bonus points that my kids get, where a lot of people, I own a video game, comic books, what, and they go, "Oh, I want to take this game home and test it out, and if I'm lucky, I'll get it back someday. If they don't like it, and if they like it, I'll probably never see it again." You guys have scored so many high-end video games. Then I'm like, now I have to make a deal with them now. I was like, as my kids, when you buy stuff from the store,
get 50% off.
You have to pay what I have in it. So most of the time it's it's whatever. But if I had to pay more for it, then you got to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my god, so Joe stole Oni. But no, my obscure video games are the not Mortal Kombat, not Street Fighter. This is bad. Hold on a second. I just realized that my dehumidifier is still on. Sorry about that, peoples. I gotta turn that off. It's loud as shit. So, so if you hear that at the beginning of the episode, you can ignore it now because it will not be through the rest of this episode. Okay, I'm a big fan of the what was back in the day for the Neo Geo consoles. You're a big fan of Final Fight,
Fatal Fury,
and
King of Fighters, Art of Fighting.
Yeah,
but Samurai Showdown.
That's my.
It wasn't really all that big in the West. At the very least, here in America.
I remember like one arcade that had a Samurai Showdown, and I played it all the time. Then. Now I own a Neo Geo arcade cabinet that has it on it, along with King of Fighters, Fatal Fury.
Now we finally got a new game in the Samurai Showdown series after years.
Yeah, and
now Haomaru from Samurai Showdown is a guest character in Soul Calibur.
Yep.
Bet you're eating good.
Yes. See but also one of my other games is I love Samurai Showdown, and I love me some Guilty Gear.
Guilty Gear is also one of them games that's kind of started off obscure
and has grown.
It's definitely one of the biggest series right now.
I remember
it's a contender.
Yeah, I remember if you found a Guilty Gear game, because the arcade cabinets were few and far between. But the Guilty Gear, there it is. So, Guilty Gear, the arcade cabinets were few and far between, and
you'd be lucky if you found a home console copy.
Yeah, the home console copies were hard to come by too, and now they're pretty much wherever. I mean,
now we got Strive coming out soon.
Now the newest one, the latest release is Guilty Gear XRD Rev 2. This shit came out. The original Guilty Gear came out May 14th, 98.
Year after I was born.
98. I've been playing that for a long time. But yeah, Guilty Gear was one of the ones that I freaking love. And like I said, that with the I wouldn't say the obscure. I mean, we're saying
it was obscure back in when he was a kid.
Yeah, dude, it was when I was a kid. I was a full grown adult.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. You had a baby at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I was. That's the one everybody knows. Eno. Yeah.
She's named after Brian Eno.
Yeah.
Because the guy who directs Guilty Gear is a huge metalhead and a huge like Soul Bad Guy has Rock You on his headband, and he's named Soul Bad Guy. Which is a Freddie Mercury reference.
Man, I just freaking love that game. I mean, both those games are fun. And one thing I really loved, I'll get away from Guilty Gear for a second, but Samurai Showdown is you had weapons,
but you could lose them
in battle. Yeah, you could be sitting there fighting. All of a sudden, man, you get kicked and your weapon go flying through the air and stick in the ground behind you, and you'd have to get over there to get it back.
You're like,
And yeah, and if you're not getting your ass handed to you, and some of the villains in that, and some of the other characters were
gnarly.
oh man.
But then he had some of them instant kills. Like one of my favorites is the one where I can't remember his name, but he floats the dude up above them, and then he makes him explode, and then he holds his arms out, and like it rains blood on him.
Yeah, I was always at Jubei. Was always one of my favorites because that's based on Jubei, the Japanese traditional character from
Jubei. He's one of my mains in the new one.
Yep. I always love freaking Jubei. Those two, and the cool part about it is those went from pretty much arcade cabinets to home consoles with little to no difference between the two.
SNK put a lot of work into their home console ports.
That's just it. I have home console ports of some of the early SNK games, and they are the exact same versions. Like literally, you go through there and you bring up the main screen, and it's like insert coins. So you hit the start button, it's like bloop 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 bloop, and it sounds like you're putting coins in. Then you can play. You're playing the exact same version of what was finally in the cabinet. So
then there was these past couple years I've been looking into on the subject of fighting games. I've been looking into a lot of weird offbeat fighting games that maybe had one game in the series, or maybe they never really had a huge Western following. Stuff like you ever heard of a game called Survival Arts?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Is one of them digitized fighting games back when everyone, after the success of Mortal Kombat, wanted to make a digitized fighting game.
Well,
I'm not saying it's a ripoff, but it plays vastly differently, and it's a weird-ass game.
No, well, people gotta remember, that all started with Pit Fighter. Pit Fighter came first, then Mortal Kombat, then...
Pit Fighter sucked, though, so...
Pit Fighter, you know what, I love Pit Fighter. Because you know why? Because when I worked at the grocery store, we had 2 arcade games in the store where you walked in. You had to stand in the cold breezeway. Mm-hmm. And so you would go at your break time and go play video games. So, and literally, I can't remember what the other one was, but it was not a game I played.
You played Pit Fighter.
But I played Pit Fighter almost every day at break or lunch when I was at work. Because what you sit in the back and you eat your sandwich and you just kind of stare at a wall, or you read a magazine, because there's nothing to do at work when you break. Because that was back before everybody had, you could watch TV on your phone, or occasionally we had an old radio in the back room, so you could go back there and turn the radio on and listen to the radio, and then sit there and eat your sandwich.
Stare at a wall.
Or what we did was we'd sit up there and play fucking video games, and like I said, Pit Fighter. Played the shit out of Pit Fighter.
It's not a good game, but it's a game you played.
Yeah, this is a game that just happened to be at my job.
And you had Stockholm Syndrome.
And, yeah, worked that damn job for 5 years. Started out as a bag boy and left as a department manager. And the only reason I wasn't a full manager is because 2 things. There was a lot of older people that were there as the full managers, and I wasn't family of the other. But, oh man, no, I played this shit out of some Pit Fighter. But no, we're talking about fight games.
Yeah, that's another obscure game. Not a lot of people remember.
Yeah, no, this is one sitting in my display case at the shop, and everybody freaks out because the price is so damn expensive. And that game is God Hand.
God Hand is definitely one of them cult classics.
God Hand is one of them games that I have to explain to people why it's so expensive. Literally, I have a copy that's complete, in good shape, and it's like $160 game. And they're like, "Is that right?" And like, "Yeah, it's right. I can't tell you that."
It's a good ass game. I wholeheartedly recommend it. It is It
is not a cheap one that you're going to look at that shit.
$200. Jesus Christ! It's just getting harder and harder to find. Capcom never released a reprint of it.
No, it was one of them, like,
or they've never re-released it or ported it to any other console. So it's stuck in PS2 hell currently.
Yeah, it's a game that there's no current reprintings of it. It's not going to be. Yeah, it's got a 4.9 out of 5. IGN only gave it a 3 out of 10.
Infamously.
But Metacritic gave it 73%.
Like I said, it's one of them games that critics didn't like, but people love it.
September 14th, 2006 was when it dropped. The developer was Clover Studios.
Directed by Shinji Mikami, fresh off the heels of Resident Evil 4.
Yep. And
it shares a lot of gameplay similarities with Resident Evil 4, namely the way Jean handles the main character, God Hand.
I used to like, there's this one website that used to be up there, and it would tell you how many of that video game was printed. So you could get a North America was October 10th, 2006. It's an action beat 'em up.
What God Hand is to explain what God Hand is. First, I need to,
or you can just read the backstory, the plot. In the game's backstory, a fallen angel becomes the demon king Angara, and whose demonic army invades the world. However, a man holding the power of God within his arms defeated Angara.
You don't need to explain the plot.
Sending him once again into exile. Hence he had the God Hand. Ba, 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 ba.
But the main character, Jean, is very much like his fighting style is inspired by the likes of Bruce Lee, Kenshiro. Like,
here you go. OneUp.com gave it an 8 out of 10. CVG gave it an 8.2. Edge gave it a 7. EGM 6.33. Eurogamer G4 gave it 4 out of 5. GamePro gave it 3.5 stars. GameSpy gave it 3.5 stars. IGN legit gave it the only bad rating. Everybody else is giving it like 7. What the hell kind of rating is that one? Like 26 out of 40. What the hell kind of rating is that bullshit?
What it probably is it's probably a total tally amongst like a couple other people who played it.
Yeah.
Because I've heard.
So if 4 people gave it 10, best out of 10, but what I think is hilarious is this is, their AGN is the only bad one. Well, but then you give it, the AV Club gave it a C+. But if you go by this would be a solid B game.
I'd honestly give it an S because oftentimes review sites would just hand games off to people. There weren't really like fighting game people or like this guy reviewed fighting games or this guy reviewed brawlers. They would just hand reviewers games, people who didn't really specialize in that kind of thing, and they'd be like, "I don't get this. This game sucks. 3 out of 10." So like if you hand like a guy who plays fighting games an RTS.
No, it had a cheap line because it sold 60,000 copies, then re-released under the Capcore line of budget games and the PlayStation The Best range. So yeah, it had essentially a platinum version of it too. They wanted to put Gene in some of their other games too, and they were like, nope. Yeah, God Hand is definitely one of them. Like the Bouncer.
The Bouncer's not a good game, but my God, is it a funny game?
It's not a good game, but it is in fact a game.
The Bouncer. That title screen is just ingrained forever into my brain.
What I think's funny is that every weekend I have the Magic Kids come in, and every weekend they ask if I have Superman 64. It's one of the things is people want to see if games are as bad as they say they are. Literally, that's one of the reasons why I'm in business is because I sell so many games because people go, "Oh, I heard this is horrible." Well, pay $4 and find out, and they will, and they'll be like, "Oh my God!" And I've had people like, "I don't get the hate for that game," but of course, Superman 64. Everybody's like that's ever bought a copy of that
It's just like, yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. I was like, you want to think that's bad? Play Aquaman for Xbox.
It's just Superman 64. 2.
Yeah, but the thing is, I thought they ran on the same engine. They do not. They are two vastly different things.
Like, it is uncanny just how similar Aquaman is to Superman 64. It's kind of insane.
Well, the funny part about it is when you get into the whole backstory of Superman 64, it gets super complex about how they didn't want him causing collateral damage. He doesn't punch anything. It exists within a digitized world.
Like, they didn't want Superman to punch real people or even real villains.
Yeah.
So that's why that's why the plot of the game takes place in a fake metropolis in a virtual world.
Is the first 3D
the game ran like shit. And that's what the kryptonite fog is there for, to keep the game running at a decent frame rate, and even then it still runs like shit.
Oh yeah. Titus Interactive, and it came out May 31st, 99. Okay.
Did you know that that Titus Interactive made a RoboCop game that also sucked?
That's some bullshit. Yeah, Aquaman Battle for Atlantis.
Oh, that's a rough one.
Oh shit, that was for they came out on multiple systems. Oh, it came out on the GameCube and the Xbox.
You too can experience.
And look at that. Look, renderware. It's not even the same. It's like TDK Media. It's not even the same people that worked on it.
But it's similar.
It's so similar. It's ridiculous. I would swear they just skinned over Superman with an Aquaman skin and just went, it's water instead of fog. And there you go. It's bad. But no, I've sold every copy of that I've ever gotten. The game received generally negative reviews on both platforms. Oh yeah. Metacritic gave it 27 out of 100%.
Well, Metacritic is just a review aggregate. Like, it's just a bunch. It takes a bunch of other reviews.
Nintendo Power gave it 1.6. I guess it could be worse. It could have been 1.5. X-Play didn't even rate it. Oh no, they gave it 1 star for the Xbox. Yeah, that's funny that X-Play existed then, and that's funny that X-Play will be back soon. Well, so I'm still gonna put that out there. Remember, G4, if you need people to work for you,
they won't let me work for them. I've shit talked Adam Sessler too much.
Yeah. Although they might, that'd be the great ultimate counter. You have Adam Sessler and then you just give each other shit through the entire thing.
I don't know. I think he'd be too coked out to work on TV. We keep referencing when I make.
Oh wow! Okay, Superman 64 got a 9% out of 100 from Megafund. N64 Magazine gave it 14%. Next Generation gave it 1 star. Oh my god, this is bad. That's just...
The game is honestly pretty unplayable. It is... I wouldn't even argue that it's one of them fun, bad games.
No, people buy it literally just to see how bad it is. Same way with the Friday the 13th game and the Nightmare on Elm Street game. Mm-hmm. Both of those those games are super expensive now, which neither one of the Superman or the Aquaman are. Because they're super expensive games for the Nintendo, and they're horrible. I don't know of anybody who's ever beat without cheating Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th. So, but yeah, obscure games that people like. You know, my obscure games that I like. A lot of the Gundam games.
Oh yeah, there's one on PS2 that I got. Yeah, see, there's the fighting games on PS1.
Yeah, and I've got a whole bunch of them back there in my there for a long time. That was a OCD thing that I had. That anytime I would find a Gundam game,
You would just pick it up.
I'd pick it up. So I had a ton of them. Go to garage sales, flea markets, wherever. I picked them up until one day I was sitting there and I bought a bunch of them. And I get home and I don't really think about it. And everybody goes, "Hey, are you looking for this game, man?" I went and I was like, "Oh, really? Yeah, I got that game. Would you want to sell it?" And I looked at the price. I'm like, "That's a $200 game. Yeah, I'll sell that game." Like, damn, you're right. I'm going to sell that game. So
$200 in my pocket.
that's right. So
we got like I said, we got a Gundam game for the PS2, and that's a real fun game.
well, you've got more than just one.
Yeah, but that's just one that popped up in my head.
You got Federation versus Xeon.
I think we got one of the Dynasty Warriors Gundam games.
Yeah, I got one. I got Dynasty Warriors.
There's actually a new Gundam game that's out right now called M-Bon. It's like a M-Bon because that's like its shorthand name.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a sort of like a dream match kind of game where it's like iconic Gundam characters and pilots and mechs. You can have famous heroes and villains fight.
That's the one I've been wanting because that would be great because you could put Hero versus Char, and
I think you can do that.
You can I'm just like, oh man, you can have Gundam Wing fighting G Gundam. You can have
Unleash the Shining Finger.
You can have racist Gundams versus.
Oh no!
You can have the sombrero wearing Mexican Gundam that's made partially of cactus. And I'm not kidding about that. That's real
something
thing.
that actually popped up.
Happens. G Gundam, or as we call it, Gundam Street Fighter. That's a great one. But that's actually one of the ones I'm looking for right now.
M-Bon. You can actually pick it up on PS4. Like it's on you can get it online or you can pick it up at a store.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about it when I go to pick up stuff. So I'll probably just order it and get it and send it here.
Yeah, get a physical copy.
Give me a physical copy so I can actually play it. And to be honest, I can't tell you the last time I played the PS4. It's sitting right there. Vince has played it.
I got mine sitting over there.
Yeah. Mine was sitting over here. The one that you had to test for 2 years. And then one day I'm like, do you still have my PlayStation 4?
I never actually tested it. No, I forgot. I legit forgot.
And then I brought it down here and got a new controller for it and works fine. So
the one we got from our neighbor. It's the Pro because he got a.
That one over there?
Yeah, that one's the.
No, that one came from the store.
Oh, I thought.
No, it's still got our price tag on it from the store.
Oh, I thought one of them we got from the neighbor.
Yeah, that was the one that didn't work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the one I got in trade over there that didn't have a controller, and I had no way of testing it, and he didn't have a power supply or nothing, so all he had was the system. So I bought it as an as-is system, and then it worked, so I'm not going to complain. So, but, all right, we are going to take a small break.
We'll be right back after these messages.
Yes.
We'll be right back with more hair-raising hilarity after these messages. This week on The Late Show, Suzanne Summers and George Carlin in a week of surprises. Turn the tables on Robin Leach to see if he lives like the rich and famous. Married with Children star Katie Seagal sings for you. Magician Harry Blackstone appears before your very eyes. Comedian Robert Townsend talks about his Hollywood shuffle. Don King with his hair. And Gallagher with almost everything.
Why don't we like this show? You know why? Because we can tell it like it is.
On Fox, Channel 11.
Kid, what do you call a black knight on a charging horse?
What, Sue?
A nightmare. Help, kid!
Time for a powerful Cheerios breakfast. A balanced breakfast like this one.
You got to go with Cheerios, energy oats that help you grow. You got go power and flour oats, coming on strong with Cheerios. You feel your Cheerios.
A Cheerios breakfast.
And we are back again. Okay.
While you're talking, I'm going to look up and see if what I heard is actually true.
So, right now, we're still talking obscure video games.
Need to look up a certain movie's release date that we wanted to talk about. So,
what movie?
certain movie. It's on there. I don't want to spoil it for the camera.
Oh. But, no, it's not really obscure right now, but, I don't play many video games now. I just never have the time. But
You have the time sometimes. It's just you don't want to.
well, no, because by the time I got time,
You're usually wiped.
I'm
So
wiped.
you
I'm
want to watch a
bored.
movie.
I want to watch a movie. I want to read a little bit, enjoy my end of the day, and go. Every once in a while, Joe will bring it down. Like if you had brought it down this afternoon, because it's Sunday, I would have probably played some
Battle for the Grid.
Battle for the Grid, or we played some Battlefront a while back.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah.
it. Battlefront 2 is one of them games that surprised me.
Yeah, that's when they got rid of the microtransactions in that game. That made it a lot better.
Oh yeah. I'll find that release date.
It made money.
Oh, that's disgusting.
The fact that it had good people working on it just makes it even worse.
Yep.
It's not out yet. There it is, right there. So, all right. If you can get a chance to play Power Rangers, because this is going to tie up the video game portion of this show.
Mm-hmm.
Power Rangers. There are a lot of good Power Ranger games out there.
I brought up on the subject of obscure games. There's the NES Fighter, SNES Fighter, not the NES Fighter, where it's not the Rangers, but you're playing as like the giant monsters and also the Megazord.
Yeah.
Like there's the giant like lipstick monster from one of the episodes is one of the playable fighters.
I have a lot of Power Ranger games, and I just got one for the PS2 a while back, and it's
Rescue Force on the 64.
Yeah, Rescue, Lightspeed Rescue, yeah.
We had Lightspeed Rescue.
Rescue Rangers, chip it. Wait, that's a completely different thing.
Oh no!
But no, I play Heroes of the Grid, and that's a
Battle for the Grid. It's a great game.
Yeah, and the fact that you can play classic Power Ranger characters, you can play newer Rangers, you can play the Boom comic book versions of there, so you can have Lord Darklon. Yeah. Tommy, the evil Tommy. You could play Kimberly, the Ranger Slayer, which is badass Kimberly. Who would ever guess Kimberly from the Power Rangers would become a badass? And
there's a couple of there. You can play some of the bad guys too. Like and there's my personal favorite, the Quantum Ranger, also known as Eric Myers, is also known as being played by Dan Southworth, who became Virgil in Devil May Cry years later. He was the legit actor for Quantum Ranger, and he reprised his role years later for Battle for the Grid.
Yep, and
which is awesome.
I think he's actually in the Rangers Forever. Or Red Forever. He's in one of the Power Ranger Return movies where they brought the room.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about...
Because it's a very special day today, on this Sunday we're recording this.
This presents... Actually, it was yesterday. It was on Saturday.
Oh, dang.
It has been 12 years since this movie came out.
It's one of the greatest. And by greatest, I mean worst.
One of the greatest bad movies of all time.
It's definitely one of them fun bad movies that's like you can cackle.
You watch this movie and you just look at it and go, well, how did you come up with that? There's no source material for any of this. You got the names. That's about it. And that movie we're talking about is Brandon.
Dragon Ball Evolution, featuring John Goku. Because I'm pretty sure he's only referred to as Goku in the movie. So he could be John Goku. And so I've made that like a running bit. He is John Goku.
No, it says martial artist and high school senior Son Goku.
Oh, they do name him?
Is given the 4-star Dragon Ball by his grandfather, Gohan. Returning home from a party hosted by his crush, Chi-Chi.
Regular high school student Goku.
But the worst part about it is the movie made almost doubled its budget. It was $30 million. It made $58.2 million.
This is why you don't watch movies that look terrible. they make money and they think you want really bad movies.
Yeah.
It's that bit from The Critic.
But like we've said earlier, we were talking about this one earlier. There's two good things about this movie. One,
It's really funny.
it's just so over the top. One is James Marsters playing Lord Piccolo, and he's legitimately trying, and he's doing a damn.
He's a huge Dragon Ball fan.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason he got in this movie. But he's made up for the crime of being in Dragon Ball Evolution by being a really good voice actor, because he is very clearly playing English Zamasu. He's doing it under a pseudonym because he's a union actor.
Mm-hmm. But the girl who played Chi-Chi
Looked the part.
looked the part. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, it's just
And he didn't look the part, but the fact that they got Chow Yun Fat to be a part of this shit show.
Chow Yun Fat. And the funny part about Chow Yun Fat is he's a Buddhist, and he legitimately gives away his money.
Mm-hmm.
He lives comfortably. Don't get me wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but
He's a cool guy.
he's like a millionaire who could be a multi-millionaire. He's like, yeah, no, I'm good. I live fine. Here
you go.
He gives away. So you know this movie made him money that he gave away to a good cause. So we're gonna go. That is one good thing that came from this movie.
Like I said, it's definitely one of them fun bad movies, and every joke about Americans, like American versions of Japanese things, I want to say stems from this movie.
Okay, which is worse? This or Street Fighter? The Legend of Chun-Li.
If we're talking The Legend of Chun-Li, that movie's not even fun bad. That just sucks.
Yeah. But
I'm one of them people who unironically loves Street Fighter the movie.
I love the Street Fighter movie for Raul Julia and the whole...
He is pouring everything. And it's actually a really sad story because his kids were huge fans of Dragon Ball.
Yep.
Of Dragon Ball. Fucking Street Fighter. His kids were huge Street Fighter fans.
Hi, Vince.
Hey, Vince, you're on
Say
camera.
hi, bud.
He has no need for any of you back home.
Yeah. He's too cool for school. So
He's getting a straw. He's turning it into a street lamp.
but no, with the original Street Fighter movie, Raul Julia kills it in that movie.
It's a sad story because he knew he didn't have long left in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted his last movie to be something.
His kids would enjoy.
So he plays M. Bison, and
Turn
he
down.
plays M. Bison good.
Yeah, the whole scene with him. The worst part, Ming Na's in that as Chun-Li. When he looks at her and he goes, you know, the day I came to your village was the
most important day of your life. But for
For
me,
me,
it's
it's his day.
Another really good line is this bit where he talks about
Turn it down, Vince. I don't want that crap on in the background. Turn it all the way down.
I turned it down.
No, here, Brandon,
turn
keep
it down
talking.
to 2.
Keep talking. I'll take care of it. Put your headphones on.
Alrighty. Another thing. Everybody knocks that Jean-Claude Van Damme is playing Guile in American, but who cares? I like Jean-Claude Van Damme because,
And that is far from his worst movie, too.
yeah,
Because that was when he was still like putting out pretty good movies. He was coked out of his head, but he was still doing a pretty good job at it.
I still do have respect for Jean-Claude Van Damme because unlike a lot of the other like 80s action martial arts movie stars, he is still a legit martial artist and still keeps fit.
Oh damn! Sorry, as I'm sitting here yawning. The worst part about it is that you for
Here's my Steven Seagal impression.
I love how his hair is still jet black and it somehow regrew to here. And I'm not saying he's got hair plugs in or nothing, but whatever. And the fact that he is a Russian citizen now, but and that's where he makes. That's where
Mr. Putin is not a criminal.
No.
He's also a crazy conspiracy theorist.
Yes, but he doesn't believe.
But the bullet train, the line where he talks about like the magnet trains.
Yeah.
He talks about like how that's how one of the reasons they're able. It levitates the trains, and he's like, and it levitates me. And he does the Psycho Crusher.
Yet again, I wouldn't say it's obscure, but man, that is definitely not a mainstream movie that they tried. And the fact that they tried to squeeze like every Street Fighter character at that point into the movie somehow.
I think it was a smart choice that even though Ryu is the main character, like in the games, ultimately his story is harder to follow in a movie format. So making Guile the main character was a good move.
Street Fighter works great as an anime. I don't think it would work as a live action,
like a traditional Hollywood film.
Yeah,
the Street Fighter OVAs are great.
Yeah, the fact is that the whole Ryu and Akuma and Ryu's relationship to Ken, and then Ryu's little sister,
the little brother thing was a movie only thing. That character never shows up in the games.
Yeah, but those movies are there's some people that dislike a couple of them, but I like the Street Fighter anime,
the OVAs.
Yeah, so but
the OVAs are good fun. They get crazy, and they are not really connected to the games at all.
Nope.
But
hey,
I still respect them.
Hey, one of my favorite things is people know I like wrestling. I haven't been watching it lately because I have a love-hate relationship with wrestling right now. But for Fyter Fest, when Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks came out as Ryu and Ken and Akuma. So the Young Bucks were Ryu and Ken, and Kenny Omega was Akuma.
Akuma is legit one of the coolest characters ever made.
Oh, yeah.
I love Akuma. Akuma's great.
He's got the...
I think one of the things I like about Akuma is that even though he's a bad guy, he's like a bit like his morality is interesting, and like he's one of them honorable warrior types. And the reason why he's at odds with the protagonist is that Akuma's like the only way to really fight is if it's a fight to the death. If it's not a fight to the death, then it's not a real fight. Right, that looks cool. did the whole kanji on his back and everything. Yep. It's awesome.
No, and he dyed his hair red and put it in the man bun. Mm-hmm. No, it's a really deep story when you get into the whole connection between those four people, and I love it when Ryu goes evil
Ryu.
Yeah,
like. I love diving into fighting game lore and the fighting game stories. Because, Street Fighter's story gets crazy. King of Fighters' story gets crazy. And you are legitimately missing out if you just, play the games, for the fighting, for the gameplay. Which is, a lot of people enjoy just playing the game, which is entirely fine. But I do think you're missing out if you don't engage with the story.
Well, that's like, I'm currently reading the, it just dropped this week, but I just started reading Magic, the comic book to the card game.
Based off all the card game lore.
And I really like this first issue, and I know, the Magic people don't care about it. Nobody, our Magic people come in our store aren't reading it.
It's because all they want to do is play the game.
They want to play the game, yeah. And that's just it. They don't care about the backstory on any of the stuff. And then you get the ones who had the books. I never read any of the books. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I started this, and I was like, oh. So I started reading the series that came out before this, the Magic Chandra. Mm-hmm. I read that one, and that's actually really good. So, but, okay. Let's get out of video. We went back to video games, and then we went back over to movies.
Talked about so once again we are all over the place.
We
just have we might as well just be starting topics.
Starting
Let's
topics
see where we go
is,
after
is
this.
obscure favorites. And then we go from there. That's like we were talking about the movies. I get in this rabbit hole sometime with movies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like a while back, I was watching Mad Max. Well, then I was like, okay, well, now I want to watch Warriors of the Wasteland. Okay, I watched that. Then I was like, oh, I'm going to find something. Okay, so I watched Battle Truck. And then Battle Truck comes with Death Sport, which is the other sequel. It's supposed to be the sequel to Death Race 2000. And then I kind of like, okay, well, I'm looking for this post-apocalyptic thing, so I watch Metal Storm. Okay, and that was in 3D, or supposed to be in 3D. Well, then I'm like, oh, 3D. Okay, well, then I watched Space Hunter. And then I'm like, okay, Space Hunter.
Oh, crap, it's been 12 hours.
And then, oh, yeah, I've done that. I've done that before. One day I'm sitting there, and I just kept watching, I say they're the Conan knockoffs, but they're the Sword and Sorcery, the cheesy Dungeons and Dragons-esque movies.
Like, sometimes some of the movies were in production before the first Conan came out.
Well, see, that's what people claim is like, okay, one of my favorite movies is, and actually it's a depressing story, but Beastmaster.
Mm-hmm.
Beastmaster came out before the Conan movie. It's still reminiscent of the Conan books, but it's more based on the Andre Norton books about the post-apocalyptic future, where a lot of this
where we've sort of reverted to medieval times.
Yeah.
Similar to Thundar the Barbarian.
Yeah, and Kamandi from DC and stuff like that. But yeah.
It got ragged on as a knockoff when it was far from it.
Yeah, because it actually came out before. Well, I was sitting there, and one day I'm sitting there watching. So I watched Conan. Well, then I watched
Conan also had the star power of Arnold.
Yeah, who wasn't a star yet.
That's true. Yeah. Shit.
But okay, so I'm sitting there and I watched Conan. Then I watched then I watched Deathstalker.
Don't watch Deathstalker 1. If
Then
you're going to
watch
watch a Deathstalker movie, watch Deathstalker 2. That one has less sexual assault in it.
And then Deathstalker 2 became Sword and the Sorceress. Then Sword and the Sorceress became the Sorcerer. Then that became Barbarian Queen.
Everyone loved making medieval fantasy movies back in the day.
And then I just kept,
it's kind of a genre that's died out now you think about it.
Yeah, because every time they try to do that, it turns into like a 300 type show.
Just make a fun, cheesy,
I'm
medieval fantasy romp.
Okay, I do that though. I go in rabbit holes, and I legitimately all of a sudden, man, I'm 8 hours in of watching, and I've watched like 5 movies, and because I'm surprising, a lot of those are really short. Then one day I'm sitting there and I was watching, so I was like, oh, so I was watching some movies, and I watched 5 Deadly Venoms at the shop, which it depends because I have the VHS that says 5 Deadly Venoms, and I have the DVD that says 5 Venoms. And then I have Return of the 5 Venoms or Legend of the Crippled Masters. But then I have another movie called Legend of the Crippled Masters, which is nothing like that. So one day I'm sitting here and I started out watching 5 Deadly Venoms. Okay, then I watched the 36 Chambers of Wu-Tang. And then I was like, okay, well then I watched Master of the Flying Guillotine. Then I watched Super Ninjas. And I was like, oh shit, the entire day's gone. What did I just do? Because it's legit. I will sit down, I'll start watching these like just bizarre movies, and I tend to get in a zone of I want to watch obscure kung fu movies. And some of these aren't even obscure, but then I'll just get into a thing, and I will watch just a ton of the kung fu movies I love. Like legit, one day at the shop, I watched all the Bruce Lee knockoff movies. And
You include the ones that included his name, even though he was dead.
Yeah, like Bruce Lee fights back from the grave, the clones of Bruce Lee, stuff like that. I watched like 3 of them one day at the shop. And I like I said, I do these rabbit holes where I'll be like, okay, I'll just go down this line of obscure movies. I did horror movies a while back, which is just because the horror movies I don't want to talk about a whole lot of it, but I went in the creature features, so the giant or like the Nature Gone Wild or giant animals. Mm-hmm. So I watched like Alligator.
Did you watch Roar?
I don't know. Do you consider Roar a horror movie? Even though people legit got mangled.
Movie hurt. Nobody got killed. Somehow.
People got hurt bad, but nobody died. Somehow.
No animals were hurt.
Wait,
animals might have been hurt, but it was a...
Yeah. Well, then a while
nobody
back...
died.
A while
somehow.
Back, I'm sitting here and I'm watching TV, and Island of Lost Souls was on. Mm-hmm. The original version of the Island of Dr. Moreau, the one Bela Lugosi. And I'm like, oh. So I sit there and I watch that. And then I was like, oh, okay. So I was sitting there and I looked and I'm like, oh, hey, the one with Burt Lancaster is streaming. So I immediately watched that one. And then I'm like, oh, they got the Island of Lost Souls, the documentary about Richard Stanley's failed attempt to make the Island of Dr. Moreau, the one with Val Kilmer and...
the movie that like just had nothing but production problems?
Yeah. So I watched that documentary. And then when that was over, then I watched the movie, Island of Dr. Moreau, the one with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando. And I'm like, that's 8 hours of my life, almost.
Just to Island of Dr. Moreau.
Just all for nothing but Island of Dr. Moreau. And it's... I do that, and with obscure movies, I really do that. Like I said, I go back onto the giant monster or the killer animal movies. I legit watched Alligator. I watched Crocodile. I watched The Last Shark. I watched, which is a Jaws knockoff, one of the Piranha movies. What was the other one I watched? And literally, then I realized it's like 4:30 in the morning. I need to go to bed, and I'm like, shit. So, and it's always these like obscure movies that I love, because I can't do that. I used to be able to do that with like Friday the 13th and even the Star Wars movies and stuff like Star Wars and stuff I love.
Like there was that.
Excuse me.
There was that. What's it from? That one animated Star Wars knockoff that we were watching, like way back at the old house, because it was on in the background while we were recording a podcast. I can't remember its name. It's animated, and it was very clearly a Star Wars knockoff.
Star Chaser: The Legend of Orin.
Yeah, one of the robot ladies had her ass literally open up.
Yep. Yet again, that's why another reason how I got to Space Hunter, because those came out roughly close to the same time, and they were both in 3D, and I remember seeing them both at the Pickle Theater on the same day in a double feature.
Cool.
So we went and watched those. Or maybe the Sydney Theater, one of the two theaters. But yeah, yet again, I do that stuff with that. I don't, like I said, I don't do it with the mainstream movies. When I was a kid, I would be able to sit down and watch Planet of the Apes, no problem. Star Wars, no problem. I can watch all the Star Wars. I can watch it. I still love watching them. I don't watch them all in a bunch in a row. Mm-hmm. I did do the entire MCU.
That was because you were going out of your way to marathon it.
Yeah, I marathoned the entire before I went and seen Endgame. So, that's what it is. But for some reason, man, obscure movies, I don't, I get in a like I was watching the Terminator knockoff movies, stuff like that, and I just keep.
Those are always silly and fun.
Yeah, Mad Max, like Nemesis. I've got the Nemesis 2, 3, and 4 over there, and those are weird. Those people put a whole lot of effort into those movies and not a whole lot of money. They really loved what they were doing.
That's what I like about a lot of like these weird ass movies is that the ones that the most enjoyable are the ones that like there wasn't a whole lot of studio interference. It was just a person's weird creative vision.
Mm-hmm. But
And then there was a lot of 80s flicks, very specifically horror movies, where the director might have been a sleazebag. He was like, we need an excuse to have tits in this movie. Rape scene.
well,
Take off your clothes.
just
We'll
that's like a movie I love, but don't get me wrong, it's really has a lot of unnecessary nudity. Is Humanoids from the Deep, the Roger Corman movie, because it was filmed completely done by a woman director. She turned it in. Roger Corman didn't think it had enough naked bodies or gore in it. Went back himself and shot more shit for it and put it in the film later.
Oh no! Roger Corman is like, I gotta film these titties.
Yes. But
I'm just imagining like a big, like he's got a greasy wife beater on with like
but that's
like a camcorder.
but this is not Roger Corman.
I know that's not Roger Corman.
But that comes to TV series too. I grew up and it was you had the super vehicle TV shows.
That
You had Knight Rider. You had
with Kit,
Airwolf. You had to a lesser term, you had Street Hawk, which I love. I went back and rewatched a bunch of Street Hawk a while back. Blue Thunder, the TV series. Then later on came Team Knight Rider, and the Knight Rider made for TV movies. You had the Highwaymen, which is a weird one. If you can find that one, go look for it. I love that show because it was almost Mask-esque because this guy had a semi truck that could turn into like a car and he could like leave the rest of it, and the other semi turned into a helicopter because it opened up and the helicopter came out, and it was fun. Obscure TV shows, that's for sure. Street Hawk, and the Highwaymen. These, like...
You know what's an obscure TV show? Baywatch Nights.
That is not obscure. That is just weird for the sake of being weird.
It's weird and bad, but it's funny.
No, we'll talk about... Watch Man and Machine. Man is a cop. Machine is his robot partner. And it's back in the day. Or the... you had all these like Space Precinct. I went back and rewatched the episode of that a while back because I think it's on Tubi, but it's a police procedural show in space. So it takes itself 100% seriously. It's done by the guy Jerry, the guy who brought you like Thunderbirds or Go. It's one of his live action shows that he made, and it's. I loved it. Talk about obscure. I used to watch it. It was on like...
I've never heard of it, and I'm your son.
It was a show that was in syndication at like 2 o'clock in the morning on like Friday or Saturday night.
Of course it was.
Oh my god. This like...
Don't worry. We'll treat your show right. Here's a 2 a.m. slot, a time slot.
Well, what it is though is like one media group like Cox Media would probably have bought it, and they would let it air on like 3 of their channels. But it would be like, okay, on channel, like, say, 22, it would be on at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday. And then on, like, 45, it would be at, like, 5 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, before cartoons came on. And then one of the other channels that they have, it might be on... Then it would be on Friday or Saturday night at like 2 o'clock in the morning. But
Don't worry, we'll treat your show right.
Babylon 5 was that way for the first like few seasons.
It just
until TNT picked it up, and then when TNT took it out of syndication and put it directly on their thing, then they were like, okay, it's on every weekday at 5 o'clock. So every weekday it was on at 5 o'clock. But when I was watching,
did it pick up interest after?
Yeah, it picked up and got. I think it got pretty good when it was there. But yeah, I remember
You
trying
hear
to
that? If you want a show to be successful, put it on a time where people will actually watch it.
Okay, I'm watching Exo Squad at the shop Saturday. And people are like, I don't remember that. It's like, you probably don't, because I used to watch it before I went to work in the morning. So that shit was on, like, when I got up, because I had to get up at, like, 5 o'clock in the morning to get dressed, get my shower, get ready, and leave and go out the door so I could be at work at 6. And I watched it before I left. So that's got to be, like, 5:30 in the morning. Although I'm not going to lie, that's how I discovered Dragon Ball Z when it was on 45 back in the day. But and that's why I learned. That's why I found a lot of obscure television shows.
Because people with no, execs with no souls.
Well, the thing is, though, is they probably bought it as a package deal. They got them super cheap, and they aired them.
And they were just like, man, we have this, just pick a random ass time slot.
Well, okay, that's like, I used to watch, when I worked at the hotel, Hercules and Xena was on. But I think it was in repeats by the time, about that time. But you also had Hercules and Xena, you had Sinbad, you had Conan the Adventurer, or the Adventures of Conan, the live action Conan TV show. You had like all those knockoff versions of Hercules and Xena. Well, of course, you had Young Hercules. You had
this isn't my world. Disappointing.
But but you had all these syndicated fantasy shows, and they were on like the middle of the day on a Saturday.
A time when no one's going to watch it.
Literally, the only reason I watched these shows and I gained love for them, I worked at a hotel, and I could sit behind the counter and watch TV all day. And
so one of them mid-2000 shows got on your radar.
That's how. Yeah, that's definitely how. Because I worked 3 days on second, 2 days on third. So I was 3 to 11. Was it like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday? I was off Wednesday, and then I was off Sunday. But then I was on Friday night and Saturday night, third shift. And you'd be amazed at what was really good on TV in the middle of the night. That's like Sci Factor, like the Poltergeist: The Legacy. All these like shows that came out that were kind of in the vein of X-Files at that time. But they were on in the middle of the night. And you know, being one is people don't remember them even being on TV. But, you know, a lot of these good shows were just forgot about because no one watched them because
they were put in a shitty time slot.
They were put in horrible time slots. You know, or you get a show that got really good time slots for like the first 2 seasons, then the third season it was in the middle of the night, and you're like, what happened here? My whole problem was I was a big Star Trek fan for Next Generation. I like DS9, okay, Voyager, but by the time Voyager came out, it was on UPN, and I didn't get UPN. Well, other stations would get it, but it would be on at like 1:30 to 2:30 in the morning on like Wednesday. Okay. Well, okay. So now I got to find this, watch this, And this is back in the day before DVRs and all that shit. So if I wanted anything and I couldn't be up, I had to put a tape in a VCR and record it and hope for the best. But yeah, definitely late night television, which unfortunately you don't get anymore. There's no real late night television anymore.
Most of the time they run infomercials.
Yeah. Back in the day, it wasn't because they get paid to put infomercials on. Back when I watched TV, they just had to fill time. Mm-hmm. So they would buy super cheap television shows to fill the time. Mm-hmm. And then you would be like, oh, I really like this show.
Guess I'll tune in.
Or they put like bizarre imported television shows from like Canada or Britain.
Sometimes that's how you watched anime and stuff, and how you watched Ultraman.
Oh yeah, I watched Ultraman because Ultraman, we have the ongoing joke that I knew Monster Vision was over when Ultraman came on. Mm-hmm. But that was...
And then you'd watch Ultraman.
Then I'd watch Ultraman until it was really early in the morning, and then I'd be like, I need to go to bed. So I'd go to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning and then get up about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and start my day all over again. That was back in the day when you could do that and it wouldn't kill me. Now that shit was... I go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning and I get up about 8:30 and I literally lay in bed for almost a half hour before I go, I got to get up. So that's one of the good things about not having a regular job. I don't have to get up at a certain time. I only have to set my alarm clock if I have an appointment that wants me up and out the door at a certain time. So, all right. Well, we're going to take our last break.
You're probably...
Don't go away. Our classic detective adventure will continue after these messages.
We've got a razzle-dazzle deal for you. It's midnight mania with good food too. Throughout the night, it's just where you want to be. We're gonna have a good time at the Wheel. Hungry?
Starting September 15th, every Smith's cash register receipt is good for a 2-for-1 buffet at the Landmark. Don't leave Smith's without it.
Need some wheels? Taking a store shopping cart may seem like no big deal, but it is. Removing a cart without the store's permission is a crime under Nevada law. Each year in Nevada, retailers lose more than $1.5 million through shopping cart theft, a loss you and I make up for through higher purchase prices. Remember, ask permission to borrow a cart, or if you see an abandoned set of wheels, call 1-800-262-4613. This message is brought to you by the Nevada Retail Association and the Office of the Attorney General.
And we are back.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So I want to bring up, we're on the subject of late night television sucking. You either get infomercials or you get really bad late night TV comedy.
Yeah.
Stuff like we got late show, we got late show, ooh, we got riveting political humor.
Or it could be like it was there for a while. When I would come home from work, when I worked up at Evans and Bayo, when it would get slow, I'd only have to work a half a night. So I'd get home at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And legit, the only things that was like on TV, because at the time we didn't have cable. So all we had was
the antenna
and movies.
Mm-hmm.
But Channel 45, all they had was Seinfeld.
You don't like Seinfeld.
One was Friends. Another channel, all it had was like Mike and Molly or something like that. And I'm like, I'll just put a movie in until I fall asleep. So, but we go in the rabbit hole here.
I've kind of grown on Seinfeld a bit as I've grown up.
I still
but
can't watch Seinfeld.
You hate it, but
I still grab
one of them shows that I never got. Friends. Did not like. Never been a big Friends fan.
Yeah, it's because you can't relate to that show. But no, it's funny because, like I said, I think obscurity and going down rabbit holes for me almost go hand in hand.
Like, you want to see more of, like, even if there's no more of this specific thing, you have more of this genre.
Yes.
You have more weirdness you can find. That's another thing I love about finding obscure media, is that it gets weird. Like, they do not have, like I said, they don't have suits looking over their shoulders. So they're allowed to just, like, the plot twist of this movie is that this guy is actually, he was an alien the whole time, but the aliens are Bigfoots. And also...
Well, okay. See, mine is that all through junior high, high school, after I graduated and stuff like that, I actually had time to read a lot more. I read now every day, and I read more now since I got glasses, so I can read.
And also, you read more now because you're actually being given. You actually have books you want to read.
Yeah.
Unlike books in school, they're like, "Hey, read this," and you're like,
"Oh, I
don't want to read this."
I hated having to read books that they gave you in school because it never kept my attention because it's never a book I want to read. But I was a big...
What, you don't want to read Gatsby, Old Sport?
No. I never had to read Gatsby.
I did.
I had to read... I had just reread...
I actually kind of enjoyed Gatsby.
Mainly
because I like... It's about how rich people are crazy.
I did... At that point, I had... This is like my senior year in high... Or not my senior year in high school. Like my freshman year in high school. I had just reread Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. Well, in this one class, we had to read a modern masterpiece. So it had to be after, I think, 1920 at that point.
And you're like...
I was like, I just read Lord of the Rings. I was like, here, I'll just do that. And the teacher was like, that's not a modern master. I'm like, excuse me? I know a shit ton of people who would beg to differ that that's a modern masterpiece. That's not a modern masterpiece. So I was like, I had to go through there, and she had to go through because she didn't like fantasy and horror. So she didn't count
teachers that. If there's one thing I learned growing up is that if a teacher didn't like something, that teacher would enforce that dislike on the whole class.
Yep. Well, I had when I went to Sydney High School, we had 2 art teachers. One art teacher loved me. One art teacher hated me. We had one for half a year, one for the other half a year. One teacher loves comics. I bring comics to school, and she was just amazed by them. She's like, "Oh my, look at that! Look at the detail!" And she's like, "Oh my God, they drew that." So I'm like, "Well, it's not really that small. It's almost twice that size in real life." But yeah, it's a lot of detail and stuff like that. She was amazed by it. Then my other teacher for the other half of the year hated me and thought that comic book art was like the lowest of the low, and she didn't consider it art. And I'm like, really? I beg to differ.
Snobbish, like.
Oh yeah, legit. I have the ongoing joke that for her class, this one kid took a canvas and he put a cow like that big, a little cartoony cow in the middle of the whole thing, and turned that in. He took a $25 canvas and put a cow
about yay big on
2.5 inches by an inch or whatever tall, and put that in the middle of the white thing. And she praised it. I did a life-size picture of Batman. Damn thing was almost 7 foot tall when I was done drawing it. I rolled out remember the papers that you had the big rolls you pull out? I did that on that. All with chalks and pastels and stuff. So I did this giant painting of Batman. And it was Batman kind of in shadow. And yeah, I took it from a picture that already existed. But I tweaked it and did my own little difference to it. Like in the picture,
you used the picture as reference rather than tracing it.
I did more of the Dark Knight Batman than to the like Brian Boland Batman that it was based on. So I got rid of the circle with the bat. I had the
old
school bat logo. I had it more broad chested and more kind of squarish in certain places, and the jaw was. And she was like, "That's not art." And then my other teacher, I took it to the other teacher I had in the other part of the year. I'm like, what do I got to do? And she's like, that's brilliant. She goes, I love that. And I'm like, and it's funny because I end up going off on the art teacher because it's all subjective anyways. I was like, how do you get grades in art? What I consider art isn't what you consider art. What you consider art, I don't consider art. I consider it art, but I don't like it. But to be a dick one time, I wanted to get away from the cartoonish stuff, the comic book shit I drew and stuff like that. So I put a black canvas, painted it all black. I put white, squeezed the white paint, and I let it run. Then I put a little bit of brown and spattered it and everything, and I let it like run down the side of the thing. And she's looking at it. She's like, I love what you do. The contrast of the colors. And I know what it means. It's the void and all this stuff like that. And she goes, what do you call it? I said, ode to bird shit. Literally go like a bird poop and then run down the thing. And she's praising it. And I just wanted to be an asshole about it so bad. And I'm like, I don't know, 16 at the time. I got in trouble. I got sent to the principal's office over that. And ode to bird shit. And oh my God, she was so angry. And then my principal got mad at me. He's like, why do you do that? I was like, it's all subjective. I didn't get anything out of it outside of like a stern warning. But it was still like, he's like, don't cuss in class, don't, and I'm like, all right, whatever. So I just blew it off and whatever.
Oh, that gave me the hiccups.
You know what? That painting may still exist somewhere. That's the ironic part about the whole thing.
You think schools care about the artwork enough to take care of it?
No, because I don't know what happened to it. Well, it's like I did a couple really good pieces of artwork in school that went and like got sent off to that like traveling thing that they do, and they set it up in the malls and whatever. And there's a couple of them I never got back. I did. I was a big fan of the comic book Excalibur with Captain Britain, Nightcrawler, Megan, and all that. And I did a really cool widget, the dimensional gateway robot that they had. I did widget tearing through a British flag, and I had the wrinkles in it. It was a pretty good size, so it was like life size. And I did that, and it went off, and I never saw it again.
British government was like, we need to get rid of this.
Yeah. I did a full size Vic Rattlehead from the Megadeth album Peace Sells. So I did that whole thing where Vic's leaning on the sign like that. I did that life size.
That's cool.
I loved doing it because, man, when I found out that I could just keep using that big sheets of paper, I'm back here. That was back when I could draw before my hands hurt. Oh, dude. That's like
factory work will do that.
Oh, man. It's funny because I look back at some of my early artwork because I still got some of it floating around here, and I'm like, look how soft those lines are and how straight that is. Now if I do draw, it's like really hard, jagged lines, really dark because I can't hold it. I start
jittering. Like I said, it's that factory work, people.
Yep. My hands will if I start drawing really good, I will start shaking at a certain point, and it does not go. But if I start doing it, I can get away from the shaking hands. So, all right. I know we said we were going to do some obscure stuff, but we did talk some obscure stuff.
We talked childhood stories with Dad.
Childhood story. But no, get back to books though. I want to do one thing. Is there's a lot of books out there that I love, especially because the 80s into the early 90s was full of just disposable horror and disposable sci-fi and fantasy novels. And there's so much of that good stuff out there you need to find.
It's because publishing was a lot easier to get into.
Yeah, and the thing is those all exist. They still exist in There's one I gotta find. It's called The Fog. I think it's by James Herbert. He did Rats. And it's not based on.
This is bad. The hiccups.
I had to have Vince come over and scare you. But it's a horror novel, but look into it. It's not based on the movie The Fog or nothing like that, which I think it should be a movie, but whatever. All right. But as always, I'm going to do a quick review here of some comics. Brandon's going to leave me. So see you, bud. Love you. Good night.
Familial love on the camera.
Yep. Hey, I'm a good dad and I love my kids. So, and people can kiss my ass. So, all right. Tonight we're going to do some comic book reviews of some stuff that you need to be reading and what you could be reading. So, I've talked about this before. I'll talk about it again. The Magic comic book. I'm not a big fan of Magic, but this is really interesting. I really like it. The artwork is really pretty good. It fits the aesthetic of Magic. There's some of the artwork right there. Don't want to give too much of the story away. But there's also variants that come bagged and they're hidden Planeswalker variants. So you don't know which Planeswalker you're going to get till you open the book. Here we go. The Immortal Hulk, probably the best comic book that Marvel has right now. I'm getting sad because it's 45 and the whole storyline ends at issue 50. I just don't want this to end. It's so good. I know a couple months ago it got a lot of shit because of the supposedly racist remarks in there, which was the guy's like, it was an accent. I'm sorry, I can't spell backwards. It sucks. So that is a must read every month. You cannot go wrong with the Immortal Hulk. Now I'm going to get into this one I gotta complain about. This is I loved Amazing Spider-Man up until I think issue 50, maybe 60. This is garbage. It's not even a Spider-Man book at this point. It revolves around everybody but Spider-Man. If you want to do that, do it in the one-shots. Do it in offshoots. It just dragged the Spider-Man storyline to almost a grinding halt. I'm still collecting it because I've got all the other ones. I'm a completist, so I will just keep getting Amazing Spider-Man. But if this was like back in the day when I would read comics till a bad storyline and I would just drop it for 6 months or whatever, this would be when I would drop it. So, and to be honest, if it keeps going down that storyline and keeps going on and on like that, I will drop it and I'll just pick it back up later down the road. All right, right now, I want to give praise to Image Comics. Image is killing it with their horror comics right now. Right now, I got Geiger. There's some of the covers. I got the 3 covers right there. It's by Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. I got the Eric Larson cover, the Gary Frank cover, and the Fabric cover. It's about the glowing man, a guy who survives outside of a bunker after a nuclear war, and he basically becomes like a bizarre, horrific kind of superhero in the wasteland. This is the first issue. It just dropped recently. I can't wait for the next issue. The other one I love is Deep Beyond. It's takes place in a weird alternate future where basically Earth is becoming inhospitable to pretty much everybody and everything, except for sea life, which is thriving and growing and getting worse. So I've been digging that. That's only on issue 3. right now, I'm also reading The Silver Coin. This is 2 covers for it. I'm not sure how many covers it got. It has a cover A and C. So, it's a horror anthology book. It's about a silver coin that passes from person to person, and the horror that it brings to these people's lives. I mean, it starts off, the whole what monkey's paw, careful what you wish for because you just might get it. That's where that kind of goes. All right. Next one is Shadecraft. This book is hot right now. I'm pretty sure that it's already hitting like $20 and it just came out recently. A girl starts seeing shadow creatures, and they may or may not be after her. I like it so far. Only the first issue's dropped. I can't wait for more. But that's my must-read picks for right now. For this week, I'm going to do a teaser on some of the books coming out this Wednesday from DC Comics. Batman Urban Legends 2, which firmly puts Grifter in the DC Batman universe right now. And what's currently going on with Red Hood might be one of the best Red Hood storylines since Under the Red Hood. You get Jason's freaking really tragic backstory, and it's just sad and good, and I love it. Here we go. Second print of Infinite Frontiers, the Dark Side variant. For those who read it, it's a really pretty good book. I think I did a review on this a few weeks ago, but this is the now second print. So there's that. Then the new World's Finest, the greatest superhero team of all time. That's right, Batman Scooby-Doo Adventures. 2 things you cannot go wrong with: Batman and Scooby-Doo. So it is a limited series. It's fun. It's exactly what you expect out of a Scooby-Doo Batman book. I love it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a Scooby-Doo mark, so I will always fall into that. All right, and here's my big bad book trade paperback of the. There we go. Irredeemable. It's in a world where their Superman goes bad and everything that happens after that. This is the omnibus. That thing is that thick. Do an ink pen for. There you go. It's by Mark Waid. They keep getting talk that it's being picked up for a TV series. I don't know if it's like Netflix or Hulu or what. If you can get this, you can get the comics relatively easy and relatively cheap. I just lucked into the trade paperback, the omnibus. So I'm going to probably go back and reread this because I had them in single issues, and I'll just go back and read it in the big box. So, but I think that's all for tonight. Like I said, we're going to put that back out again. I'll be giving away free stuff. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment or drop us a line at the Twitter on Group Therapy TV 1 at Emperor Palpatine on Twitter. You can follow us on Facebook at Group Therapy TV or on Instagram. I'm going to be putting more stuff out there and putting pictures up of the stuff we're going to be giving away. And remember, follow us, like us, share, hit the bell notification, all that stuff that everybody tells you in every video you've ever seen on YouTube. And I'm going to, hopefully, this Saturday will be the first episode of Saturday Morning Serials. So please watch that. We're going to be posting more about that coming up. We're also going to be having a special That 80s Horror Movie Roundtable episode. So that's coming up soon. We're planning that right now. So we want to say goodnight to everybody. Y'all have a good night and take care. And remember, we're not licensed therapists. Good night.